My services started dropping as soon as we got on duty.
Happy belated birthday, Tony Compliance.
Oh yeah, thanks. I think I'm officially. I think according to all the coworkers, I'm officially like 150 years old now, or something.
At least 160 from what I see.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
How are you guys doing today?
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for it to drop. I'm just waiting.
Yeah, you froze right when you were coming in, and I'm like, oh great, now I'm not going to be able to get Tony on the screen. So
well, let me just see if I can spit this out real quick. The first 15 or 20 minutes is going to be Colorado specific, and then we'll go into everything else. So if you're here for a regular core store update live, stick around, even if you're not a Colorado dealer, and we'll open it up to questions at the very end. We've got Tony Compliance here with us, and that's always a treasure to have, because if you've got compliance questions, he's the man to ask. So with that, I'm going to back out so I don't cause any more interruptions, and you guys just run with it and tell me when to throw a screen up.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Joel. So as Joel said, the big thing we want to cover here are the new Colorado state forms, the DR 7606 and 7602. Okay, and Tony, talk to me like I'm an idiot. I can understand. I can understand that this is for the basically the state acquisition and disposition form per firearm, and then the sales information of that firearm, correct?
Yeah. So to get into the simple basic layman's terms, the state of Colorado has gone off the rails. They've gone off the rails in a way that is now for all intents and purposes is now kind of the litmus test for how to make business as hard as possible for firearms dealers. So it's kind of scary if you get to the nuts and bolts of it. I really feel for dealers in Colorado who are having to do this, because it's not just a couple of forms. It's state licensing. It's mandatory training for gun shop employees. It's there's a whole litmus of stuff they have to do on top of another assault weapons ban to go into effect in 2026. So there's this whole jumble of stuff. I used to joke all the time about how New York and California gun dealers need U-Haul, not new systems, and it's kind of sad now that Colorado seems to be going to be included in that boat. So it's sad, but specific. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say. So there are other states. Obviously, you hit on New York. Does something similar with their P12 forms, I believe, is what they are there.
Yeah, there are some other state forms floating around there. What we're seeing unique with Colorado, going a little bit above and beyond how they're actually instituting this in terms of not only the forms and exactly what they're asking for in reproduction, but in addition to all the other stuff they're laying on the firearms dealers as a whole. So keep in mind the effects that are going on in Colorado. We're mostly going to talk about forms here, because that's what people are asking for to help them processing that piece of it. But the piece to stress is that's not all that has happened in Colorado. There's a whole bunch of stuff that the state, under the Department of Revenue, meaning tax people, a firearms division in the Department of Revenue, are now laying on to gun dealers, and it's kind of scary. But it's already being said that this is kind of becoming, if this stays on the course and if there's legal challenges that it survives and it becomes kind of a permanent thing, this will become the litmus test and become the new model that Washington's already talking about, New Mexico's already talking about, New York and California, you'll see probably them try to adopt more along the same lines, and everything else like that. And again, not to soapbox or get off the rail. We said a long time ago, it's been said that the battle for firearms will occur at the state level. It's hard to pass federal legislation one way or the other. And we've seen it largely at the state level in terms of like firearms bans and assault weapons bans and things like that. I mean, but this is full course into focusing specifically on state regulation of firearms dealers. And that gets scary, especially when you look at, it's something being created in Colorado under the Department of Revenue with a bunch of people who have no idea what they're doing, and it's kind of where they're going with it is highly questionable. So, but anyway, we're kind of soapboxing at this point.
Well, Dan had a good point. Colorado basically out of business now. I hate hearing things like that, and I know, as Tony was saying on his soapbox, it's all trickling downhill, unfortunately, and we'll probably see more states follow the path, like you said, Washington and other communist states that are out there. But what we want to do is we want to just get into, I guess, the nuts and bolts in coreSTORE, how we can help make your life easier as far as getting these forms that you need printed off with the correct information from your database, take a little less paperwork off on your side.
Yeah.
And there's not much we have to set up for that as far as being able
we had
to
to go through. Yeah, we had to go through and add some fields and add some data point collection points and stuff like that. There was some stuff already existing that you may not have been using, so we can try to point that out. For all those, this was all effective, supposed to start. Dealers were required to start doing this July 1st. We know we're a little behind July 1st, but we were kind of waiting. The state wasn't great at getting guidance out on this. The forms didn't come out like way ahead of time, like we see with federal forms. So we wanted to take time, make sure guidance coming out was good and this and that and everything else, and then do everything right. So a big focus on this is trying to create these forms so you guys can get them formulated, get them downloaded. They're fully filled out when you're done, and yet keep it separate from all your federally required stuff. There's a huge question and a lot of talk going around about the constitutionality of Colorado and how far they can go without violating federal laws reaching into your records. That's a huge question. So we wanted to create this in a form. So keep in mind, we did what we did in a short time frame that we did to try to accomplish that, give you the forms, get it out there in that way that you can keep it all separate. Understand we may do more in the future. There's still talks about that, about how this is going to look in a bigger long term, but at least now we want to focus on, we have those forms created for you, the 7602, the 7606. It's available. You can use them, and you have that flexibility. So so that's where we're at. That's where we're at today. These should be live. We launched it live last night, so this should be available in your coreSTORE now as we talk.
Yep, and I just double checked on that too, Tony, just to make sure, and it is on the live systems. I had to set myself up as a Colorado dealer though, so we'll kind of let you drive here, and we'll hop into the I'll call it the nuances, but the settings in coreSTORE that you must have configured. And I know we hit on there are fields inside the software such as occupation for the purchaser of the firearm that does populate the form, and maybe you guys just don't know where to find that, but that field's existed forever. So if you want to take over, we'll kind of let you drive.
There's my screen. Sweet. So first place I'm looking at here is I'm in your company location settings. So this is where you set up like your bound book data and stuff and all that. So specifically, a lot of these changes are based on the Colorado. So in your state province, if you have this set for Colorado, this should kick these features into drive for you. We did add a county field because that's on the form. So you might need to go back and populate that. We also added fields for the DBA line. Again, that was another field that's on some of the one of the Colorado forms that just wasn't there. So good idea. Go back to your location settings and review some of those empty fields. Another big piece in the bound book tab of this, we did add a section to record your Colorado dealer permit. So we know the Colorado licensing was in there. So we added a spot for you to add that and track that expiration. So those are the big changes within your settings themselves.
And that's what you were hitting on before, where, not only now do you have the FFL, you have to have your state permitting to sell firearms. So
correct. And I believe that's good 3 years. So you're talking renewal, Colorado dealers renewal on that, I believe, is every 3 years. So, yep. So those are some fields that we added for that. We also looked at the form that this Colorado dealer permit being recorded if you're transferring firearms to other Colorado dealers. So in suppliers, so where I am right now, I am in, if I can find it again, I'm in purchasing suppliers screened here. I'm just throwing a dealer up. Those our friends at Spartan Defense. So you guys get a free shout out. But we did in your supplier list there, down where you have the FFL numbers calculated. We also added the section where you can record that dealer's Colorado licensing and stuff as well too.
And now that's required if the supplier is in Colorado, obviously.
Correct. Yeah. If you're receiving, if it's an FFL outside of Colorado, obviously they're not going to have a Colorado dealer permit. So that's just for Colorado dealers. We added it there as a feature, so you can add it, because specifically one of the forms has that on it. I believe it's the 7606 has it for disposition of a firearm. Okay. So those are kind of the big points, the big things we've added. Things like occupation, there's one of the forms, again, this being driven by Department of Revenue. One of the forms actually has an occupation field. So I'm sorry. So where I was at here was I was searching customer profiles. I'm just using an example one going into edit. This field actually already existed in coreSTORE. So if you go into a specific customer profile, go to the ID tab, there is an occupation field there that was put in place for some other forms before. It's existed. Probably most dealers have never looked at it or used it, but it's there. You'll just have to populate that for a field. You can edit it either from where I'm at here, or when you have a customer profile attached to an order, you can edit that profile and get that data there to populate that if you have that blank on a form and you need it. I don't know what the Colorado state guidance is on leaving the occupation field blank or putting unknown. I would reach out to what guidance you dealers have had on there and what you're being told in that aspect as well too.
So on that note, Tony, and this is just me asking questions. They would have their own state contact for that information, correct? It wouldn't go through the ATF per se.
Correct. That, yes. Question specific to the firearms division of the Department of Revenue. There are contact numbers. I'm sorry, I should have pulled those up, but I didn't. But those are out there. Those have been in circulation. So yeah, there is a number to call. I don't know how helpful they will be.
Yeah,
I have already heard that. Yeah, I've already heard a lot of mixed information on that. So based on all this going on, so I can't tell you how helpful they will be or how forthcoming with information they will be, but I know the information to contact the firearms division is out there and is floating around. Okay.
I think one other thing that I noticed on this form is finish, and I'm sure a lot of you probably haven't used finish in the system, and maybe you have, which is great. That field does exist, but this pulls directly from the bound book too, correct?
Yeah, and we're not done with this yet either, but yeah, in your bound book on that first item information page, there is a field for finish, and the form is made to pull directly from here. Now, finish is an attribute. And if you have trouble adding those, if you go into your inventory attributes and open that up here, you can see in here we have one that finished. So if you don't have that in there, you can add it. It should already be in there, but you can also manage values. So you can come in here and add values and create as many finish values as you need to populate whatever. So again, that's work you can do ahead of time and preload that. So when you're actually looking at your bound book, you can get kind of the selection fields there for that. So that's
Can you type in that field, Tony? Like if you type red, will it add that right from there?
If I had it, I believe right now all we have is just the one. So okay, so it will add. Yeah, it will let you add.
You could add it right there if that attribute is created.
Even better. Now, here's the bad side. Like I said, we're not done with this part. We're done, but we're testing QAing it and QAing it right now. So we're expecting this next piece to be available to you come Monday morning when you go to work. Right now, here in the bound book is the only place where finish can be populated. And I understand that's work on FFLs. You receive a gun, then have to go into the bound book and add this information. So we are working on a point. So we're looking at your receiving points, not only like in the inventory item, in the product description, having something available, the finish field available within here, but then also adding it to where when you're doing your PO and receiving of a firearm, where you have the spots where you can adjust,
like the caliber and stuff.
Yes. And same thing when you're looking at a new gun buy, or I'm sorry, a used gun buy, trade in, the transfer module, work order module, the receiving points at that. We're working on having a field for finish in those places so you can add it as you're receiving the gun, have that go directly to the bound book, and then have it ready to add to the forms. So, like I said, the work for that piece is done. Testing and QAing it, because that affects broader than Colorado customers. So again, the goal, the roadmap, and we don't see anything why we can't get this done, would be that'll be available for you all on Monday. That feature will be in place.
That's great news. Obviously, we want to make it as less of a heartache on you guys as we can. And as Tony said, right now going into the bound book, adding it, not a huge step, but it is extra work. If you can be able to receive it or do it right when you create the inventory item, which we plan on doing, is going to be positive. So I guess and I'm sure we're getting into this, Tony. The next thing is, how do we print these forms? Where do we gather that information? It seems to be
everybody's
simple.
Yeah, everybody's like, shut the hell up. We want to see the forms, right? Yeah. So we tried to make this as fairly simple and fairly easy as well. So just from your bound book, let's talk about the 7606. This is the acquisition disposition record. Now, we know the state didn't require you to use the exact forms. However, we did use them as the starting model to get started and everything. So we just mimic those forms. And easy enough when you have a bound book record, if you just click that record there, those buttons that populate across the top, you will see there's a selection for Colorado DR 7606. If you click on that, it'll give you a download option. So you can save that, and then I'll bring this into view. Get out of there. So we all can see it. This is the form as you're going to see it populated. FFL information, the firearm information, the receipt of it, and then the disposition. Now, the other good piece on this is you can run this for guns that are still in stock, not disposed. So if I was to take an in-stock gun that didn't have disposition information, I can still download this as its incomplete form. And then after it's disposed, I can come back to it, rerun this report, and then get the completed one with the disposition on it.
On that note, so let's say they forgot finish on there. If they go back into edit the bound book, they can add that and then reprint that form, and it will have the finish populated.
Yeah, so anything like here, like this specific one, the finished one, I think shows up on the 7602 specifically. Yep. But even on this one here, I played with it. Like right now, the DBA information is empty. If right now, and I played with this quite a bit once the forms were done, if I were to close this form, go back to my location setting, add data in that field of my location settings, come back and reprint this form, it'll be populated. So if you start generating these forms and you see there's blanks, you can dump that download, go to the record, fix the record, come back, redo those forms, and get it with the updated data. So it's been working across the board like that.
Excellent.
Yep. Any questions on the 7606?
You want to field questions now, or we want to go through the 7602 and then field questions?
If no one's popping anything up, I'm just going to jump into it.
Let's jump into it. I don't see anything yet. I'll let you know if something pops up.
Yeah. So the 7602 is the dealer transactions. Multiple forms at once. Yes. Before I go, I actually was going to talk about this. So thank you for bringing that up. So yeah, let's say I had all of these. I want to do all of these. Again, come in and create the Colorado 606. What it'll do, it'll want to download as basically a folder. So if I just download that real quick to show you, sorry, I meant to do this. It's going to populate, as a folder, open. There you go. And it's going to open as a folder, and it will have all those records together in that folder.
Excellent.
So, and then you can rename these. And the way we went this way, you can rename these whatever you want, store them whatever you want, complete 100%, complete them separate from your federal bound book, from your 4473s, all that jazz. So that's why we did that. So that allows you to do that.
So it looks like, yeah, and it looks like all we're doing on that is we're putting the name of the form and then the ID number corresponding with the logbook entry.
I believe, yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. But you can change it. I would probably change it, at least for that one. I would probably change it to serial number That might be some work, but that makes it a little bit more easily searchable for those. But I leave that up to you guys, for you guys to juggle your records however you guys see fit. I try not to dictate too much.
Like Colorado, you try not to be a Colorado.
I'm trying not to be Colorado. Yeah, don't be Colorado. That's going to be the new. All right, so now we got sidetracked from the 7602, the dealer transaction log. So this is the transaction log of the guns that have gone out on a particular sale. Just to show you this, I'm going to pull up a completed sale here, so you can see it. And I'm just going to pull up the receipt view of that sale. And specifically what you see, and you'll see this will present on suspended sales, and it will present on completed sales. But in your receipt sale, you will see right up at the top the Colorado DR 7602 attached onto that receipt view. So when you complete the sale, you get this view. You can go straight to here and download this form directly. Let me just download that, and I will bring that up.
Another option on that too, much like say you forget to print it and you want to go back, the bound book entry. Right from the bound book too, you can click on the point of sale ID there, and that'll pull up this same receipt view for you, so you can get to your
100%. Yeah, 100%. And again, this is what that form is going to look like, populated with all of the data. So obviously your business information, the employee completing the transaction, that's going to populate from the system on the sale. The purchaser's information, this is where that occupation comes in. Then your gun information, and this is where it's populating things like finish, and this is where that's going to. We've built this form so however many guns are on this order on the sale, if there was 5, 6 on this one, but however many guns that are on that sale, this will just continually adding pages for however many guns are on the sale. So it'll just continually add on and complete those. So you have that ability too. And again, I believe this downloads and saves using the POS transaction. So it's like in this one's PS7602-591, that's the actual POS transaction number.
Excellent. Pretty straightforward on that too.
To get go, we kind of wanted to have it be easy and just get it out there, so at least the forms are available to everybody in some kind of completed status. And same thing on this. We talked about the download. You download this, finish is missing, dump that download, go to your bound book, finish, fix the finish field, come back, re-download it, it'll update. We were the same way we were talking about on the other form.
Excellent. Is there anything else on the top of your head that we should know about? We should be aware of it in this process. As I said, it looks very straightforward as long as everyone has, under the location settings, you have your county set up, your state set up, and then the bound book settings, you have your permit information. And we hit on the supplier settings and the customer fields too. Was there anything else that we may have brushed over?
I think that's the main points for the forms. I mean, granted, I could be missing something. We also understand this is kind of an initial piece out. So obviously we're always open to taking feedback. You catch something that we didn't, something like that. So if something does pop up, contact us and let us know. And obviously we'll address what comes up, but at least in an initial version to get the forms available to you. This was probably the quickest, easy way to get it out there.
Well, and like you said, we have to keep it separate from the ATF logbook, and basically, it's not its own module, and perhaps someday in the future it would be, but currently this is the way to do that. Does anyone out there in chat, you guys have any questions, comments, concerns about the process? Really, obviously this is revolving around our Colorado dealers. So we want to hear from you guys. If there's any questions, we're open to take those now. Otherwise, we all can sing Tony a happy late birthday.
Yeah, no. Oh, Lord. So let's see. What were if there's no questions rolling in, what were some of the other minor tweaks we have made recently that aren't even just Colorado?
The real big thing, and I kind of wanted maybe you to explain this. I kind of touched on it the other day. Is just the export of the bound book to be in the appropriate format for dealers.
Yeah.
And
Yes, somewhere along the line, for whatever happened, it's the bound book, the bound books, the formatting was defaulting to one layout, and there's by CFR there's two layouts, one for dealers and one for manufacturer. The fields are slightly different, the wording's slightly different. So we went back to the drawing board, and we were also getting some feedback from the field of inspections of some of the additional fields, the optional fields. We had a lot of requests coming in to move them from what is those CFR required fields and kind of move them to the back end of that report. So that we still have it there, still have it accessible. But for an IOI who's doing an inspection, have the first thing in their face be the right format, be the required fields that they would sit by the CFR model. And that's exactly what we did.
And that's all driven off is that all driven off the FFL number and the location?
Yeah. So the FFL number, you add it specifically, it's looking at the fourth set of numbers, the fourth set of numbers. Yes. The 01, the 07, the 08, whatever that is, that's the set of numbers that determines the type of license. So it's looking at that number going, okay, it needs this layout, and that's what you're getting in that form, in that layout. So, if you pull your bound book and it looks in an exported format and it looks like that layout has changed, it may have from the last time you looked at it. So.
Linda had a question. Any changes if we are shipping a firearm to Colorado from Texas? I don't think that matters
not
to her.
From your end. The only thing as part of this whole debacle of spiraling stuff, there was the excise tax stuff in Colorado. And again, I'm not a tax expert, so I haven't gotten completely in the weeds on that, but I believe there's a threshold. So Colorado dealers are now also required to pay an excise tax on firearms precursor parts, and stuff like that to the state of Colorado. Out of state, if you're not a Colorado dealer, but you're shipping stuff into, I believe there's a threshold. And I apologize if I don't remember what that threshold is, but if you hit a certain threshold within the year of products, those qualifying products going into the state, then you've got to pay that excise tax. That's my understanding. You might want to reach out and get more guidance on that. I understand I'm not a tax professional. I'm not a lawyer, so I could be missing a piece on that, but that's kind of my general understanding of it. But there's other people out there that are providing some more in-depth guidance on that as well too. And so there's people that are talking about that.
Okay. Philip Diaz says happy belated birthday, Tony. And then
thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Phil. Phil's always a good time. Shane has a question. On another note, I've not been able to automatically submit a PO to a distributor for almost 2 weeks. There's not a response to why it's not working other than someone is looking into it. Shane, could you throw in chat which distributor it is for you? Generally, those errors or those timeouts come from the distributor connection itself, but I'd want to make sure your distributor credentials are set up right. So if you could drop that in chat here, which distributor you're working with. I'll hop on and take a look for you and see if I can't find anything on that. Let's see. All right. Any other questions from our awesome audience here today?
No. Did you want to talk about lost and stolen stuff? Okay.
Oh yeah,
you asked me some questions on that not long ago.
Yeah, I seen that we've added to where we can reclaim it and recover it. From lost or stolen without manually have to doing it. Yeah, would you walk through that and kind of show us how this works?
So lost and stolen, and this kind of does come back to just making sure that bound book records are good and everything. So we changed a little bit within the bound book itself on how things report for lost and stolen guns. So specifically, a couple of things. We made sure that the stolen, if you're marking something lost or stolen, that it's not overriding any like previous disposition information either. So probably the most common scenario dealers are all dealing with are you've shipped a gun, it never made it to its final destination of FFL. So now you're having to report it missing in transaction. Well, you would have recorded disposition information. So now when you come in and add, mark that as lost, stolen, as lost, it's going to add the information for that. Obviously, in this example, we don't have these fields populated, but this was kind of a test case. But not only will it add the information for the stolen for report number, ATF incident number, any notes, and when it was reported, it's going to retain that original disposition information. And that was that direct guidance from some advisors and stuff like that, is we still want to retain that. Now, the big piece that came in is, well, what happens when guns are recovered? So like this case, if you've had that stolen gun and now it's come back to you, remember, you don't delete the stuff out of the bound book. So it wouldn't be a case of you go to this and delete your original disposition, delete that lost record or anything, because you still want to be able to account for the time that this gun is out of your record, that it was out of your possession. So the proper course of action is to bring that gun back in and create a new bound book record, acquiring it from wherever you got it from, be that a police department or wherever. And what we just added is a recover record feature. So if you hit the recovered record feature, it's going to use the bound books information, and just makes everything easier for you. It's going to use the original bound book information to create a new bound book record, and then it'll prompt you to add who you're getting it from, who you're acquiring it back from, add that information, and it will create that new bound book record for you. So again, it's just trying to make that process a little bit smoother, a little less data entry for you, a little easier, and yet maintain that continuity of that original record still shows stolen. You want to keep that you're showing it getting in. And you can see we're even adding a specific record that this was a recovered firearm from a previous stolen record, and it's going to refer back to that record. So just a little bit more detail, make it a little easier for you to get those guns back in store, but yet keep that flow and keep that chain of custody correct in your bound book. Okay. Did that answer the questions you had, Oki?
Yeah, that answered my questions. I was wondering why it would do a disposition and acquisition when you did that, but now it completely makes sense because you want to track that was disposed or stolen from your store for 2 weeks before it was recovered.
Correct. Yeah. Now, if it's stolen, if it's something that's stolen or missing, and you just have let me just go back to the main bound book page. If it's an in stock firearm like this one, and you do an inventory, or there's, God forbid, a burglary, and you're going to go and you have no disposition information, when you mark this as lost or stolen, you have your piece report number, you have your ATF number, and we're adding in some notes. It's just that will become your initial disposition, because there wasn't previous disposition information. So that's all that will be recorded for that. But it's also going to retain, but like I said, if it was previously disposed, it's going to retain that information because that's part of the history of that firearm.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
All right, and Shane, I did find the error that you were running into, so I am taking a look into that, just so you know. Any other questions out there from the audience? Perhaps anything at all, except Core Force. I'm just kidding.
Except Core Force.
We don't have Colt here today.
Yeah, right. Man, you can't tell me we did that good of a job. No.
Why didn't you guys tell me I didn't have a company hat on today?
Hey, you got a Cleveland.
Neither do I.
What the heck? Hey, real quick before this thing cuts me off, you guys know about the the copper tariff? Might want to start stocking up on ammo before August 1st, because it's coming. So that's your financial advice for the day. And we are not financial advisors, but I would start just stockpiling ammo if I were you.
on a side note, with the whole suppressor with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, since he's kind of side noting on there, we all know the effective January 1, the way things are written is tax stamps for suppressors, short barrel rifles, short barrel shotguns, AOWs goes to 0. Still have to do all the NFA paperwork, photos, fingerprints, the application that goes in. But that tax stamp, that $200 tax stamp or $5 in the case of AOWs, goes away. So that makes those things quite cheaper. I think I've already seen a handful of dealers, most all of them that I've seen, clients advertising that, hey, we can set up and you can pay for it now and we can sit on it until January 1 and then process your paperwork after the tax stamps fee goes to 0. So I don't know what everybody else is planning on do or how anybody's advertising that, but that's some dealers out there using that suspended sale feature, being able to create sales and hold them in that status for that time period and make that a special to try to capture some sales before maybe some availability becomes a little more scarce than it was. So just kind of an interesting note. What I saw I saw coming out of this whole One Big Beautiful Bill thing.
I got a question for you, Tony.
Sure.
If they get rid of the tax, but there's still a tax stamp, what's saying that when the bad guys get back in power, they can't put a $3,000 tax attach it to that tax stamp?
That would be, that I think should be a serious, potentially a serious consideration. So, and you never know. Like I said, that we've seen a lot of good things happen and a lot of things progress the right way for the industry right now in terms of, what it was under the previous administration and all of that. But again, that can raise some questions. What happens in another 3 years when there's another anti-gun administration? What will that look like? Now, in the time period, the big question is, and there's already some lawsuits that are being announced in relation to this. There was back in the 30s when the NFA went into place, there was a legal challenge to its constitutionality, and kind of that legal basis that went through the Supreme Court was that it was a tax, that you're actually paying a tax on these items. So there is that argument going out now that if there is now not a tax, does that render the NFA unconstitutional? And now is it just a firearms registration, which is prohibited under the Firearms Owner Protection Act and so forth? So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out within the next year or two. But if that progresses and then has potential to take the NFA away, who knows what this will look like.
All right.
Anything else? Man, you guys went quick.
Tony is very quick.
Wow.
He knows his stuff. He was prepared, knew what he wanted to cover right when he got in here. Unlike Colt and I, we kind of go back and forth a lot. So
well, I think me and Matt's heads have been hurting with this stuff long enough, so now we can kind of regurgitate it out and pass on the headache.
Well, this is going to make everyone's life easier in Colorado, and like we said too, we have the P12 forms there for New York too. If you guys in New York weren't aware of that, that's pretty much the same thing. At the end of your sale, you'll have the P12 form button at the top right-hand screen. Let's see, is there and just an update for you, Shane. I'm gonna get with development on this here. Like I said, I did find the error. I just need to understand what the response back is from Lipsy's for that. So I'll get in touch with you. I'll reach out to you directly as soon as I have information on that here. Okay. Any other questions out there from the guests as far as or even Joel, you have any more questions? Tony?
I'm good.
Tony, what'd you do for your birthday?
I stayed home. Well, I didn't say it. We went out. We got pizza. So,
well,
I don't make a big deal for my birthday. We just try to relax as much as we can.
Just another day, right?
Yeah.
Well, next week, what is the NSSF show? And Joel, you'll be out there. Tony, you'll be out there. So stop by, say hi to the guys. Get Tony a birthday drink or 10.
Ask us questions because we've literally got a century of knowledge between us.
From what I see,
never
it's at
s-
least 3
we-
centuries.
We never said that. We never said that centuries of good knowledge, but
Knowledge.
Oh, Phil wants to know, when is Corey going to hit up all the platforms? He's been hammering away at that, Joel, ever since our last
Really?
conversation. Said it's got a lot of good stuff in there for him.
Maybe we schedule something with him in a couple of weeks just to ask him how he's using it, and maybe that's a good way to get it to hit all the platforms. We just need to know how people are using it and some suggestions or whatnot.
You
That
can
would be fun.
grab him at the show next week and pull him on the live stream.
Philip, you're going to be at the show. Come, and we're going to do a live stream right from the booth. That'll be fun. We'll share a drink, colored drink, non-alcoholic drink.
Non-alcoholic drink. Got to keep you guys awake for the show.
Yeah.
right.
Awesome. We'll see you there, Philip. Well, this was obviously it's not our normal day to do these Fridays. Kind of hard to pull a group together, but this was our only day. Everybody's traveling next week, and then even the week after that, we'll have some people traveling. So we're a beehive of activity for the next probably 3 weeks.
3 weeks or so, yeah.
Yeah, and for those of you that missed our Retail Mastery series with Greg Turner, we'll be rescheduling that probably within the next 3 weeks. That's going to be a good one. We're going to talk about communications within your organization. So there is a wrong way to do that, and usually it's not communicating or not communicating clearly enough. And that goes back to my whole AI thing. Articulate your intent. You have to articulate your intent. When you do that with the robots or people, great things happen. So, well, I guess this is it.
Parting
We'll
words.
go out with our traditional song, because I think Mike or somebody said stop the music, and I totally agree, Mike. It's a horrible song. I'll tell the robot. That's more what you watch before you invade a country, I think. And I'm not
Right.
we're not invading countries right now, so I think we'll go out with something a little more laid back. Does Corey save the conversations? I don't think it has memory, which you may not want that, but I think it sort of does if you keep that conversation open. I know that doesn't help, but that's just the way that is. It would cost a lot more money if it saved all your conversations, because all of that is data, and Corey would probably be prohibitively expensive. I'm learning that by setting up like an offline robot, and I see I'm losing my signal again. So that's probably not in the cards right now. It could start getting cheaper though, so we'll see. Does anybody have anything else? Does anybody out there have any questions? We completely, like, from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for joining us today on a Friday.
Oh yeah.
We know everybody's looking forward to the weekend, and you're coming here. And I noticed Phil B showed up 22 minutes late. Phil, we're gonna have to have a conversation about that.
He's usually right on time.
He is usually right on time. So, but we are so thankful that all of you joined us. I'm particularly thankful that you guys engage. Like, I see all of the chat, and it almost brings a tear to my eye, because this is how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be in this together, and it's just so cool to see, the conversations back and forth, and that's how we get better, and that's how we can. Obviously, if we get better, you're going to be able to do more things too. So with that, Tony, you are now so-and-so years old. What advice or what last words or what have you learned in your so-and-so years? Because I don't know if you want to tell everybody. Last words for this
Back to the point. How the hell are we supposed to act our age? I've never been this old before.
Perfect.
Every day we wake up, it's like the first time I've ever been this old. Act your age. How? Where's the book? Okie,
Oh Lord.
Yes.
any words?
Oh, this is one we hit on a lot, and I kind of steal it from you. But at the end of the day, just be kind to everyone. Our support techs, we want to be kind to you guys back and forth. No one knows what anyone has going on, and I think a lot of us forget about that, and we just need to be kind to one another, and things will get done.
And I'll share this because I shared it with you, Okie. I was at the vet on my way back home, and I started thinking. Now I don't know why I was thinking about this, but usually when I'm driving, that's when I'm thinking. Of course, I'm thinking all the time because I never talk to humans. But it just occurred to me, like when we call somebody an asshole, right?
Yeah.
Forgive the language. It's like the reason we call people assholes, or the reason that we have differences with people, is because they're different, right? And they're basically not acting the way we want them to act. So and maybe that was because I was thinking someone was an asshole at the time, and I was checked, in my mind. It's like, hey man, when you do that, you're actually the asshole, because you're wanting the entire planet to fit into your little mold, and that's just not the way life works. And you don't want it to, honestly.
I've reminded people a couple of times, someone will stop me, and I've even caught my wife with this. It's they get they come in, they're in a bad mood, and they talk about everybody, how they've encountered was something bad happened, something bad happened, something bad happened. We talked to eight, you talked to 8 people today, and every conversation was bad. It's like, have you ever thought that the one common denominator between all those 8 encounters was you? Maybe you're the problem.
Yes. If you are the common denominator, be the positive one in somebody's life. And I'll be honest with you, the way I find myself getting out of the doldrums is just being grateful and thankful, and when you do that, it's impossible to be negative when you're thanking people, so I want to thank all of you for attending today. I want to thank Okie and Tony to see you guys, and also Colt, whenever we do these webinars, just the wealth of knowledge that you guys have. I am truly thankful that we have such weapons as you guys, and that we can share with all of our customers and maybe potential customers. So I think with that, I am going to close it down. We are freaking awesome. This is awesome. This is less than an hour, man. We did it.
And more than 10 minutes, like I told you it would be.
We did it, boy.
Only be 10. Thank you, guys.
Thank
everyone
you guys.
Have a great weekend.
Absolutely. Have a great
everybody.
weekend. And
Safe
Tony,
travels to the show too, guys.
Yeah. Tony, I'll see you next week. And Philip, I'll see you in the booth next week. So we'll be coming, and we'll probably be coming to you live. So make sure you have your notifications on in YouTube, and we'll come to you live from the show floor. So that'll be fun. With that, we are out of here, guys. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bringing more power to run things right. Yeah, faster, smoother, better control. New tools and tweaks to help you roll. From checkout speed to inventory flow, we've got the updates. You're good to go. Your business running tight. Stay tuned in, don't miss a beat. Your success, it's our feet.